The emergency alert hit at exactly 3 a.m. Admiral Lisa Carter bolted upright, her heart hammering before her brain had even caught up. Her communicator was blaring like it was possessed. She fumbled for it with trembling fingers, still tangled in her sheets and half asleep. "What's going on?" she croaked, voice raspy with sleep. A voice crackled through the device. "Ma'am, you need to report to command immediately," said Lieutenant Ben Sullivan. "We've got a situation." That was all it took. Lisa was out of bed, into her uniform, and racing down the corridor to the command center within minutes. When she arrived, the place was chaos, organized, but intense. Officers darted between workstations, voices raised, fingers flying across controls. The air practically buzzed with urgency. "Report," Lisa barked. Ben turned from his console, his eyes wide, almost disbelieving. "Admiral, we just received a transmission." Lisa narrowed her eyes. "From who?" He swallowed. "The USS Meridian." The blood drained from her face. The Meridian had vanished 15 years ago. A deep space exploration vessel with 200 of the best crew Earth had ever assembled. Everyone had given them up for dead long ago. No wreckage. No signals. Just, gone. "You're sure?" she asked, barely above a whisper. "Positive. It's from Captain Jake Morrison himself. He's requesting permission to dock at Luna Station." Lisa turned slowly to the main display. There it was. An object near the outer edge of the solar system. But it wasn't the Meridian she remembered. That ship had been sleek and functional. This was something else entirely. The vessel on screen was massive, at least 3 times the size of the original, and unlike anything she'd ever seen. The hull shimmered like liquid crystal, constantly shifting in color and shape. Patterns danced across its surface like living code. "My God," Lisa muttered. "What happened to them?" The comms officer swiveled in her chair. "Admiral, Captain Morrison is requesting a direct link. Shall I put him through?" Lisa nodded slowly. "Do it." The screen flickered, then stabilized, and there he was. Captain Jake Morrison. Lisa gasped. The young, sharp-eyed officer she remembered was gone. This Jake had silver hair, deep scars, and an expression that radiated something, not quite human. But it was his eyes that stunned her most. They glowed faintly, like there was light behind them. "Hello, Lisa," he said with a warm, uncanny smile. "It's good to see you again." Lisa took a step closer to the screen. "Jake, where have you been? We thought you were gone. What happened? And your ship?" "It's a long story," Jake said, his voice smooth but with a strange reverberation, as if more than one person was speaking at once. "We need to talk. All of us. Earth's leaders. The Galactic Council." Lisa's instincts kicked in. Something was off. "How many are on board your ship, Captain?" Jake smiled wider. "About 3,000. Her stomach dropped. 3,000. "Jake, you left with 200. "I know," he said calmly. "We made some friends along the way." Before she could press further, one of her officers called out. "Admiral. You need to see this. The energy readings on that ship, they're beyond anything we've ever recorded. It's generating more power than our entire defense grid." Lisa stared at the data pouring onto her console. Numbers that shouldn't even be possible. "Jake, what kind of energy source are you using?" "Something new," he said. "Safe. Stable. And not what you're used to. May we dock?" Lisa hesitated. "We'll have to run scans first." "Of course," Jake nodded. "But just a heads up, your scans won't tell you much. We don't really exist in just one dimension anymore." Lisa blinked. "What does that even mean?" She authorized the scans anyway. The results came back a minute later, and made no sense at all. On thermal scans, the ship was room temperature. On energy sensors, it burned hotter than a star. Radar picked up a solid mass, gravitational sensors said it barely had any mass at all. "This is impossible," Ben muttered. As they watched, the ship began moving toward Luna Station. Lisa held her breath. The Meridian phased through the outer defense grid like it wasn't even there. No alerts, no resistance. It was as if the defenses didn't know the ship existed. "How are they doing that?" someone asked. "I don't know," Lisa admitted. As it drew closer, more details came into focus. The hull wasn't made of any known metal. It looked like crystal, but it flexed and moved like skin. Parts of it were transparent, showing interior rooms that appeared far too large for the ship's dimensions. "Admiral," the communications officer said again, "we're getting ping from nearly every government in the galaxy. Everyone wants to know what this is." Lisa nodded grimly. Of course they did. A missing human ship returning after 15 years with impossible tech. That kind of news spreads like wildfire. And the Corvani Empire, the so-called masters of advanced tech, wouldn't be happy about it either. The Meridian finished its docking procedure. Lisa watched in awe as the ship's hull reshaped itself to match the clamps, like molten metal forming around a mold. "Docking complete," came the report. "Open a channel to the station," Lisa ordered. The screen changed to a live feed of the main airlock. The doors opened. Lisa stood frozen, watching as the first figures stepped out. Humans. At least, they looked human. But behind them came others. Beings she had never seen before. Some were tall, thin, and nearly transparent, with skin that shimmered like stars. Others were crystalline, their bodies refracting light in patterns that made her eyes water. A few looked mechanical, but moved with an elegance that screamed alive. And leading them all, Jake Morrison. He looked directly into the camera. "Hello, Earth," he said. "We're home." A chill ran down Lisa's spine. This wasn't just a lost crew returning. This was something else entirely. And nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. Lisa grabbed her communicator. "Get me the President. And the Galactic Council. Now." As Jake and his impossible entourage moved deeper into Luna Station, she stared after them, her mind racing with questions. What had they found out there? And perhaps more importantly, what had found them? Admiral Lisa Carter stood at the wide observation deck of Luna Station, hands folded behind her back, watching the scene below through the thick transparent panels. It had been over 2 hours since the airlock first opened. And still, people, beings, were disembarking from the Meridian. 3,000. The number kept echoing in her head. "How is this possible?" she murmured aloud. Beside her, Lieutenant Ben Sullivan was hunched over a tablet, scrolling through a mountain of impossible data. "We're not sure, Admiral," he said finally. "The ship's interior space appears to be, significantly larger than its exterior dimensions. That's supposed to be impossible. I know. But so is everything else about that ship." Lisa's gaze dropped back to the docking bay. The newcomers were still coming. Some floated just above the ground, their feet barely brushing the deck. Others glowed softly. Many were utterly alien in form, beings made of living crystal, light, shadow, or metal. And yet, they all moved with purpose. Calm. Grace. And then she saw her. "Admiral," someone called from behind. Lisa turned. Walking toward her was Dr. Amy Brooks. Or someone who looked like her. Amy had been the Meridian's medical officer, a kind-hearted woman with gentle features and warm brown eyes. But this Amy, she shimmered faintly. Her eyes now glowed with a soft blue hue, and at times, Lisa could see through her. She wasn't quite solid. Not entirely. "Hello, Lisa," Amy said with a smile that seemed to radiate directly into Lisa's mind. "It's wonderful to see you again." Lisa blinked. "Amy, is that really you?" "Yes," Amy said, still smiling. "Though, quite a different version." "What happened out there?" Lisa asked quietly. "We learned," Amy said. "Things beyond anything we imagined. Our minds expanded." Ben, curious and a little overwhelmed, stepped forward holding his scanner. "Dr. Brooks, may I, run a scan?" Amy laughed, a sound like music. "Of course. But I doubt your scanner will understand what it's seeing." Ben swept the device over her. Immediately, the screen flooded with data, and then froze. "What in the—" Ben muttered. "According to this, you exist in 17 different dimensions." "That sounds about right," Amy said cheerfully. "I can see quantum particles with my eyes now. Want to see something?" Lisa just nodded. Amy reached toward the wall. Instead of touching it, her hand passed through, like dipping into water. When she pulled it back, the wall was untouched. Lisa felt her mouth go dry. "How?" "Atoms are mostly empty space," Amy said. "Once you learn how to speak the language of reality, you can move through it differently. It's like learning to breathe underwater." A new voice spoke from the doorway. "Amy, are you showing off again?" Lisa turned to see a tall man step into the room. Rick Hayes. He had been the Meridian's navigator. He looked mostly the same, though his white hair and glowing star-filled eyes suggested he'd gone through a similar transformation. "Rick," Lisa said, stunned. "You look, yeah," he chuckled. "We all do." Ben turned his scanner on Rick, and got the same wild, unreadable data. "Rick," Lisa said, "how do you navigate now? Do you still use the ship's computers?" Rick smiled. "I don't need computers anymore. I can feel space. Want to see?" He closed his eyes and raised his hands. Between his palms, a glowing 3D map formed in midair, floating, rotating, alive. It showed their solar system in impossible detail, fluctuations in gravitational waves, energy signatures invisible to human tech, even lifeforms beneath icy crusts. Rick pointed. "Mars will get hit with a small solar storm in about 3 hours. And there's a Corvani spy ship hiding behind the moon." Lisa's eyes widened. "Command, do we have any unidentified ships in our system?" A moment passed. Then a voice replied, "Yes, Admiral. We just detected a cloaked Corvani vessel behind the lunar shadow." "How did you know?" Rick just shrugged. "Space isn't empty. It's full of information. If you know how to listen." More crew members began filtering into the observation deck. Lisa recognized several of them, but none were quite as she remembered. Paul Davis, former head of security, stepped forward. His presence was darker now. Not sinister, just shadowy. Light seemed to bend around him, and darkness moved with him like it was alive. "Paul," Lisa said, cautious. "What can you do now?" He smiled and reached into his pocket. Pulled out a handful of random metal bits, copper, iron, scrap. As Lisa watched, the metals twisted and merged, transforming into a sleek, complex-looking device in seconds. "I made this just now," Paul said. "It's a scanner. It can read across dimensions. Might help you understand our ship a bit better." He handed it to Ben, who activated it. Holographic projections burst into the air. The Meridian appeared in the display, but in layers. It existed in multiple realities at once. "My God," Ben whispered. "It's bigger on the inside. Because most of it doesn't exist in normal space." "Exactly," Paul said. "We learned that reality isn't one thing, it's a stack of layers. Most people only see one. But there are so many more. Lisa shook her head in awe. How many of you can do this kind of thing? All of us, Amy said. Every human who made the journey. Each of us gained different abilities. But we've all been changed. Lisa looked back toward the docking bay. And the others? The non-humans? Our friends, Amy said softly. They're refugees. From worlds destroyed by war, or by something worse. We offered them a new home. At that moment, a new figure entered the room. It was unlike anything Lisa had seen before, tall, elegant, with a body that seemed to be made of flowing, liquid metal. When it moved, it shimmered. When it spoke, it sounded like wind in the trees. Greetings, Admiral Carter. I am Harmonic of Distant Stars. I speak for the architects. Lisa blinked. The architects? We are old, Harmonic said. Very old. We once built cities among the stars while your kind still painted in caves. But our civilizations are gone. Consumed by those who fear change. I'm sorry for your loss, Lisa said, not sure what else to say. Thank you, Harmonic replied gently. But we have found hope. With your people. Humans possess something rare in this galaxy, an ability to adapt, to change. Amy stepped forward. The beings who taught us, the ones who changed us, they've been waiting, Lisa. Waiting for a species like humanity. Lisa swallowed hard. Waiting? Why? Jake Morrison stepped into the room, carrying what looked like a small sphere of light in his hands. His voice was calm, but there was a gravity to it. Because the galaxy is about to change. And someone needs to help guide that change. Lisa stared at the glowing sphere. What is that? A gift, Jake said. From our teachers. It holds knowledge that can reshape everything. But before we use it, we need to talk to Earth's leaders. And the Galactic Council. Lisa's voice was barely a whisper. What's coming, Jake? He looked out the observation window at the stars. A convergence. All the old rules are about to break. And humanity is standing at the center. Lisa's breath caught. They hadn't just returned. They had become something new. Something the galaxy wasn't ready for. News of the Meridian's return spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Admiral Lisa Carter stood in the war room of Luna Station, surrounded by flashing data feeds and nervous voices. The display screen showed a map of known space, glowing red and yellow as reports poured in from across hundreds of systems. The Corvani Empire had mobilized its science fleets. The Vorthan Confederacy had begun shifting entire battlegroups closer to human-controlled space. Even smaller independent worlds were scrambling to assess the threat, or opportunity, represented by the Meridian. Admiral, said Lieutenant Ben Sullivan from the comm station. The Galactic Council is calling an emergency session. They want Captain Morrison to appear in person within 48 hours. Lisa nodded, already expecting that. What's Earth's response? President Kate Nelson is en route, Ben replied. She'll be here within 6 hours. She's bringing the entire cabinet. Good, Lisa said. We'll need every voice we have. The war room doors hissed open, and Commander Steve Rodriguez walked in. Lisa hadn't seen him since the Meridian docked, and she almost didn't recognize him. Like the others, he had changed. His eyes were jet black, like voids that stared across time itself. And there was something about the way he moved, as if he weren't bound by normal physics. It was subtle, but unsettling. Admiral Carter, Steve said with a nod and a calm smile. We have company. What kind of company? She asked warily. The kind that doesn't knock, Steve replied. 17 Corvani ships, cloaked, just entered our system. Ben's fingers flew across his controls. I'm not detecting anything. You won't, Steve said. Their tech can fool your sensors. But not us. We can feel them. Lisa's gut twisted. The Corvani were renowned for their advanced science, but they were just as infamous for aggressive action when they felt threatened. If they think we're hiding something too dangerous, she said slowly, they might try to take it by force. They're afraid, Steve said. And fear makes people reckless. An alarm went off. Red lights bathed the room. Ben's voice was tense. Incoming transmission. It's the Corvani. Put it through, Lisa ordered. The screen lit up with the stern face of High Commander Zex Corvani. This is High Commander Zex of the Imperial Science Fleet, he announced, his voice clipped and cold. You will grant us immediate access to the vessel known as Meridian. Refusal will be considered an act of war. Lisa opened her mouth, but Steve raised a hand. I've got this, he said calmly, stepping forward. He tapped the comm panel. High Commander, this is Commander Steve Rodriguez of the Meridian. Your request is denied. You dare to refuse the Corvani Empire? Zex snapped. We have 17 ships surrounding your system. Surrender the vessel, or we will, correction, Steve said. You had 17 ships. Your lead vessel, the Dominator, just lost all power. 30 seconds ago. Your crew is currently drifting through space wondering what happened. The screen flickered to show the Dominator, visible now as its cloaking failed. It spun silently in space, dead. Ben's scanners finally lit up. Confirmed, he said. They're broadcasting a distress signal. Total systems failure. Zex's voice returned, but now it wavered. What did you do? Nothing permanent, Steve replied. I just asked your computer to take a nap. Your crew is safe. But I'd think twice before issuing more threats. This is impossible. Our systems are, based on the idea that consciousness and matter are separate, Steve interrupted gently. They aren't. Once you learn that consciousness can influence matter, many things become possible. Lisa stared, stunned, as lights began to flicker back on inside the Dominator. The massive warship stabilized and resumed a stationary position. Your ship is restored, Steve said. We could have disabled all 17. We chose not to. Because we're not your enemies. Silence. When Zex finally spoke again, his tone had changed. Commander Rodriguez, what do you want from us? Nothing, Steve said. We want to help. Just like we want to help everyone else in the galaxy. Help us with what? Lisa stepped forward now, voice calm but firm. Are you familiar with your ancient records, High Commander? Stories about the great darkness that once consumed your home system? Those are myths, Zex said dismissively. Legends from before we achieved space travel. They're real, Steve said. 3,000 years ago, something attacked Corva Prime. Something so powerful, your people barely escaped. Your star system was devoured. Devoured, by what? By the same force we encountered beyond the rim, Steve said simply. We call them the Devourers. The room fell into silence. Then, a soft hum filled the chamber as Dr. Amy Brooks entered, floating a few inches above the floor. She radiated calm and peace. Steve, are you terrifying the Corvani again? She asked playfully. Just offering some clarity. Amy turned to the display. High Commander, I'm Dr. Amy Brooks. I served as the Meridian's medical officer. I know this is hard to believe, but what we're saying is true. With a wave of her hand, holograms sprang to life above the table, images of enormous, shadowy ships consuming entire star systems. These are the Devourers. They've destroyed thousands of civilizations. And they're headed this way. Zex's voice was barely audible now. How long do we have? 4 years, Amy said. Maybe 5. But there's still hope. Hope. In what? In unity, Steve said. We can't stop the devourers with weapons. They feed on destruction. The only way to win is to change. Suddenly, more alerts flared to life. Ben turned back to his screen. Admiral, we have incoming ships. Vorthan battle cruisers. 12 of them. Lisa turned back to the main screen. Huge ships were moving into formation around Luna Station. Classic siege positioning. Another voice crackled through. This is General Thax Voran of the Confederate Fleet, came the booming voice. You will surrender the alien vessel and submit to Confederacy authority. Lisa groaned. Here we go again. Steve just shook his head. The Corvani are paranoid. The Vorthans are impatient. Can you disable 12 ships? Lisa asked quietly. Probably, Steve said. But I'd really prefer not to. He stepped to the console again. General Thax, this is Commander Rodriguez. You've likely overheard our conversation with the Corvani. We have, Thax said. And we don't believe a word of it. Stories of ancient enemies. Fabrications to gain influence. Then let me show you something, Steve replied. He closed his eyes. The lights dimmed, and the very space outside the station seemed to shimmer. Then, images began to appear. Not holograms. Real, physical visions that hovered in the void. They showed the Vorthan homeworld. Thousands of years ago. And then, darkness. Massive ships arriving. Worlds burning. Thax's voice cracked. This can't be real. It is, Amy said softly. Your people fled. You rebuilt. But the truth was buried. More images followed, ruins, DNA traces, records. All of it unmistakable. Steve turned back to the console. You weren't the first. You won't be the last. But we can all be the ones who stop it. The war room fell silent. All eyes turned to Lisa. She looked at the display, at the Corvani, at the Vorthans, at the allies and enemies now being drawn together by something bigger than all of them. And she realized that the galaxy wasn't just facing a threat. It was facing a choice. To stay as it was, divided, combative, fearful. Or to become something new.